Hey traders, Cousin Vinny coming to you on Sunday, October the 19th from theclosingprint.com with a look at the week ahead and a brief watch list. Last week we talked about the SPX A50R and the NDX A50R both being in oversold territory. The number of stocks trading above their 50-period moving average had reached areas previously seen at market bottoms. And in fact, we did see that last week. The Fed has indicated that there's a possibility they may extend QE, which was supposed to terminate at the end of October. The news sent the markets higher, and for the time being, it looks like indicators were oversold and turning. We look for a continuation on the bounce that we saw on Thursday and Friday. In order to feel more confident in a rally, we want to see tick cumulative confirm. By virtue of institutions stepping in, we should see positive plus 1,000 and above ticks, numerous ticks that last most of the day, and particularly in the evening session. And we saw that on Friday. We want to see it again this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, hopefully the whole week, to indicate that institutions are back. The Russell slow stow, we saw a cross there, as well as the S&P 1500 composite. The slow stow had also crossed the 20 line, so we have a signal to go long. The VIX VXV risk indicator reached a peak, reversing direction. We want to see that drop below 90%. And of course, sector performance, we saw XLP drop, the ratio between XLP and XLY. We'll go over that in a minute. First, we will look at the S&P 500. The nice hammer we saw on Wednesday, then a reversal Thursday, Friday. SPX A50R is turning, as we spoke about, and SPX A200R, the number of stocks trading above their 200, is also reversing and turning. Looking at the comp, we see the same thing. Although the hammer wasn't as pronounced, we did see a move higher on Thursday and Friday. We tested the 200 period as well as the 10 period EMA on Friday. Note the NDX A50R is turning here, and we should see this continue to move higher, provided earnings are received well on those reporting over the next few weeks. Tick cumulative, we saw a fake out on Thursday. It looked like we were going to cross into Friday, but we didn't see that. We are still moving higher. Tick is accumulating. If we see positive 1,000 ticks Monday, Tuesday, this indicator should turn. Also note the 10 EMA is also starting to flatten out as well, ever so slightly. The SPX, note NIMO is crossing over. Remember, when these two indicators below trend and NIMO move away from each other, that's a bullish buy signal. It was a little early here, but we did see a reversal on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Slow stow, as we mentioned on the Russell 2000, is crossing over. If we have continuation, we'll have a signal. It's currently at 1974, so we'll watch this one going into the week. Note the Russell versus the SPX is turning higher on Wednesday. That looks really good. We sat right here at the 382 Fibonacci level from the last time we tested the 200 period and broke through. That was the low, and then the high pivot was here, the highs that we saw in July. So the 382 was right around 1030, 1035, and we are bouncing. I'd like to see follow through. Now note the caveat that we're looking for is a possibility of a test of this trend line. If we make it through that point and don't reverse, we have the moving averages up above as well. If we make it through both of those, who knows? We could continue to move higher. But right now we are anticipating that we could see a weekly, this is the weekly chart, a weekly bounce up to this trend line, which will be a little bit higher at that point, around 1145, 1140. And we could see a reversal and a move lower if earnings aren't received well these next few weeks. We'll also see the same thing, thinking in terms of the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. The S&P composite, the 1500, we had a really nice candle on Wednesday and Thursday. We reversed, came up and tested the 10 period. We have the 200 period just above that. And then again, we have the 20 and the 50 on the way back to a reversion to mean if that does occur. Note NIAD has turned substantially over the last 3 days, and we have slow still gave us a signal on Wednesday and confirmed on Thursday when it broke through the 20 level. And now we're at the 50% level and continuing to move higher. What happens this week, as well as when futures open in an hour, is yet to be seen. Bonds, TLT reached as high as the fourth standard deviation, the orange lines here, or 4 standard deviations off the 20 period. We tagged that level and then reversed hard last week on Wednesday. We are watching TLT. We're at the 10 period. We have a little spinning top here, and we're thinking we could back down to the 20 period moving average. So we'll be watching TLT going into the week as well. The S&P 500, we have the Elder Impulse system enabled here. What we're noticing here is the 382 Fibonacci level from this pivot high to the low on Wednesday. The 200 period moving average, the red line, and we have the 50 period up here as well as this trend line and the 50% level to get through. So we have a number of obstacles that we have to make it through in order to take this back. I don't see getting past this trend line and the 50 period, but that's yet to be seen as well. Note that what we're looking for here is a major accumulation day greater than 90%. So we want to see a 90% level, or even something close to 80% would be good for confirmation, but we're not out of the woods yet. We have to watch and see institutions confirm this temporary rally that was sparked because of Janet Yellen and the Fed talking about the possibility of extending the termination of QE temporarily. So we saw TNX and TYX, the yields move lower, and we're watching that as well. So let's take a look at the XLP-XLY ratio. We pointed out in September that there was a possibility that cyclicals would start underperforming staples, and this was an early signal that the market was in trouble. Note this, the S&P 500 behind in gray. And when we broke out here, it was a signal that this 4-month trend down, where cyclicals were outperforming as the ratio was dropping, that may change and that we could see a defensive nature come into the market. So that's exactly what happened. Now, last week we mentioned watch for a peak, indicating that possibly cyclicals could start performing again. And so far, that's what we saw Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We want to see this indicator continue to drop and move lower. If you're bullish equities, you have a bullish economic outlook, and you're thinking the cyclicals will continue to move higher. Now, let's talk briefly about commodities and oil. Unleaded gas is extremely weak. Some would say that with weak commodities, weak oil, that would be a prelude to lower prices on the S&P. We have the dollar continuing to be strong, which indicates that with a stronger dollar, it takes fewer dollars to buy the same goods. So therefore, you would think that the S&P 500 and other indices would be moving lower. Keep in mind that commodities are moving off. If you look at the CRB index, it has moved off of its highs of several months ago and is currently near a bottom. We want to see commodities strengthen if we want this rally to continue going forward. We also want to see the dollar continue to taper off here and give us a respite if you're bullish equities. In addition, you want to see the yen continue to move lower. This is a chart of the Japanese yen daily, the S&P 500 here at the top. Note that when the yen starts to weaken, that we should see a corresponding move to the upside on the S&P 500. If we look at the carry trade, the difference between the two, the dollar and the yen, you also want to see this indicator moving higher if you're bullish equities, and if you're bearish equities, you want to see this indicator move lower. Let's take a look at the weekly. We're very obviously at the 200 period moving average, and we bounced there. We had a hammer, so that was another signal that we could see legs in this market midweek last week. This is a chart of the mid-cap high-low percent cumulative. This indicator is starting to turn, and note the histogram has gone positive. Last week we mentioned on Thursday, Friday, that this histogram was starting to move higher. This is a buy signal if we make it above this level at 4%. Let's also look at the 600, the small caps, similar chart. Note the indicator is turning and the histogram has gone positive. We want to see this get above 40% for this to signal that small caps are in fact being bought up by institutions. Above 40% would give us a buy signal like we saw back here in February, and again when we bottomed and turned back in June, as well as in August when we saw that low. So look for these high-low percents to move higher on the 600 small caps and the mid-cap 400s to help with the rally going forward. Other commodities like gold and silver are starting to pause here. We saw a high at 1250.30 last week. And finally, the risk event indicator, the VIX versus the VXV volatility, 1.114. We tapered off and now we're cruising lower. We want to see us get back down below 90 to indicate that we have legs in this market and we continue to move lower. If we look at the weekly, we got all the way up to the fourth standard deviation, the magenta colored lines here, and we moved off of this level. We said that that was a distinct possibility. We also noted the previous occurrences where the S&P 500 bottomed at levels similar to what we saw on Wednesday last week. Okay, so let's look at some setups going into the week. Advanced Auto Parts AAP is one stock on the IBD 50 that Mikey was kind enough to share on Sunday. Note connecting these highs here, we're above the Kirby level, so we could see a move higher going into the week. Note stochastics has already turned and MACD should turn up as well. AKRX, there was a nice article in IBD last week talking about this stock, looking very well. Note to check earnings. Note the breakout here of the trend line we pointed out on the Bollinger Band scan on Thursday and Friday last week. Stochastics turned on Wednesday, and now we have MACD following. So this one should continue to move higher with RSI moving back through 50. Prices are back above the 50. Period moving average, now we're looking at this 37.97 level. We're at the upper Bollinger Band. So if the markets continue to firm, this one should look good going into the week. Ambarella, AMBA, another chip stock that firmed during the middle of the week, right at the 50 period moving average and the lower Bollinger Band. We have a little bit of selling on Friday. We're right below the 10 period moving average. We're looking for a follow through to the upside. Note the Kirby held prices, this volume by price bars, and we have stochastics turning up, and MACD should follow to the upside. Note where RSI is. AmTrust Financial Services, note the trend line here. We tested that level. We're at the upper Bollinger Band. Bollinger Bands are pretty wide, so I'm not really that crazy about this particular stock, but if it does break above this level, the volume by price bar and this trend line, things should continue to move higher. Note where stochastics is. So we had a nice bounce on RSI and increased volume as well. So if this breaks above that level on volume, this should continue to move higher. AFSI. ATHM Auto Home, a Chinese provider of independent and interactive content to the automobile buyers via autohome.com. It is number one in the group on IBD. Note the breakout of this wedge pattern. We are $5 off of that level, so I'd look for this to pull back to the 50 period for a bounce. If that occurs with tight Bollinger Bands, we could see a move higher. Note it may not get back there because of the volume by price bar support here. Stochastics is overbought and MACD is crossing. Note the volume. This one could continue. Just keep an eye on it as earnings are scheduled for 11/10/2014. The numbers look really good, so this one could continue to move higher. Bit Auto, another Chinese name. We saw this descending channel. We tried to break out of it. We stalled right at the 20 period moving average. We have the 50 period overhead. And we have this Kirby or volume by price bar to deal with. Note stochastic and MACD. This one's looking a little iffy. We'll keep an eye on this one going into the week and put it on our watch list. CBG, CB Richard Ellis Group. This is in a REIT in the office space. We're testing the 200 period as well as the 10 period EMA. Note that stochastics is turning higher. MACD looks like it wants to cross, and we have decent volume. This one reports 10/27, I believe, next week. Decent numbers. It's number 7 out of the group. KW is ranked number 1. Decent numbers, and you can see the PE here is at 18. And we have decent profit margin as well as earnings per share increase over the last 3 years as well as the last quarter. F5 Networks, FFIV, consolidated right around the 200 period. We found buyers. We had a nice volume by price bar situation as support here. We had stochastics turn and MACD is turning as well. Note the volume and RSI looks like it's going to push higher. So this one could continue to move higher into the week. We're above this down bar that we saw the week previous, and we're trying to get back above the 20 period descending right here. So keep an eye on the 20 period at 116.80. But FFIV looks like it may continue to bounce. Let's check on earnings. FFIV is number 1 in its group. Internet networking applications and performance networking resources. Nice numbers here. It reports 10/23, so the middle of the week. Decent profit margin at 37%. PE is a little bit elevated, but still decent. So we could have a nice trade into earnings, a earnings run on this name. So FFIV looks pretty decent as well. Facebook, nice bounce off a lower Bollinger Band, consolidated on Friday, moved higher, right above the 50 period moving average. The 20 period is just above that. Stochastics turn, looks like MACD as well, and volume stepped in. RSI looks good. Facebook looks like it's going to move higher. I'd also watch Twitter going into the week. So that's going to be it for the watch list going into the week. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. I'll post some more charts over the next few hours and tomorrow. Be sure to check out the website. I'm just scrolling through some stocks here. I'll stop if I see something decent. Jazz looked pretty good. Lynette, nice little bounce. Note the trend lines here. The trend line could break above. Stochastics turning. MACD looks like it wants to turn. Magellan Midstream Partners, crazy. Let's look at NetEase. That one looks like it might break out this week. Stochastics, MACD crossing. I would wait on it though. It looks like it might hesitate. Nike, we had that nice breakout. We were looking for 90. We got it, and it pulled off of that level. Looks like it could retest that level in the near future. Old Dominion, Parexel. Polaris, Gym Equipment, Robert Half, Salix Pharmaceuticals, nice. Came down almost to the 200 period moving average. Note all this volume bars, though. I wouldn't trade this one right now. Sherwin-Williams moving higher. Note the home building stocks look pretty good. Check that out as well. Skyworks, Stratasys. Okay, and the last group here. Education, Taiwan Semiconductor. Nice wedge pattern here. Should break higher. Semis were really getting hit early in the week last week, but they firmed up towards the end of the week. Alta Salon, I like this one. Nice little channel. Should break higher. Stochastic is moving higher, and MACD turning as well. Remember to check earnings on Alta. We have a nice descending channel on Under Armour as well. United Rentals. Dip Shops Holdings, nice channel here. YY, we saw some activity on Thursday, but it didn't follow through on Friday. Okay, so this is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. Be sure to come and check us out if you're a new trader. We have lots of videos here for you to check out and lots of resources. If you need to learn how to trade or you need some reinforcement in your trading strategies, lots of good things here for new traders. Hope this helps. Take care, and we'll see you on the stream on Monday.